will now.
Konstantin, that's Konstantin Osipov, lead developer of Tarantool.
Unfortunately, you will have to copy because I cannot type and talk.
Okay, guide me.
No, you hold the mic.
This way.
Yes.
Makes sense, makes more sense.
Okay, but
when we started, we just only had stored procedures for our database in Lua. But then we turned it completely around, and now Tarantool is just a Lua interpreter. And you can say 1 plus 2 is 2, and you get 3, and just now I start the interpreter in interactive mode, and basically, so part of the, I think one of the thresholds that people using Lua is that you don't have this thing out of the box. So you could embed Lua easily, but if you expect Lua to be something like Python, you don't have it. And Tarantool makes Lua look like Python because you can start it with no arguments, and it just starts interactive mode, and there is readline support and history support for you, so you can just do it. And another thing that you can see quite immediately in the way we embedded the Lua is introspection. So when I typed 1 plus 2, I didn't have to type equals. It just automatically introspected the thing on the stack. Or I didn't have to type return, although that would be a valid statement too. So return works too. But it's easier. It's easier that whatever you do is just printed for you. So like it's just there. So the way we actually print introspect is YAML, is yet another markup language. And the reason we use YAML is that it is human readable, and at the same time it is formal, so that you can parse it. So anything that we output, you can actually load into an object, and it is YAML. But as I said, it's a database. So now it's interactive mode, but normally the way you use it is you just write a script. There's mouse. Okay, the cursor is back. Then so you do something like that. And you do as you would do with any other interpreter. But I will not use it now just for the speed purposes, to quickly show you. And hey, as I said, it's a database. So where is the database? It's lurking here inside the interpreter. We have generally, as a Lua interpreter, we have complete package support, but we have one package which is always on board. So box is a Lua library that gives you access to the box, to the thing to store your data in. And initially, box is not active, so it's there, but it's lurking. And to start a database, you use a single, probably the name is cryptic to you, but it's just the legacy of our use. You configure the database, basically. You use a single call, and you do it this way. I'm just using the syntax that is handy, that provides a little table. So you basically, here I fired off the database. We call the default parameters, and it started logging, and it allocated memory, and there were already some tables. I would use simple. We use it. Our tables are called spaces. They are available to you. And here, once I configure the database, box is turned out into something different. Scrolling doesn't quite work. Well, it does. So again, with introspection, I just type box, and I can see everything that's now in my database. It became a large structure with lots of tables and lots of properties. Now, to do your stuff with the database, you just you basically use Lua. You call methods and functions, and box space is a container for all spaces, and box schema is a module to create new spaces. So I want to create a new table, and I just type box schema space create and give a name. And here it goes. It is all persistent. It's we use right-hand logging to make it transactional, persistent, and all that stuff. And there is replication for you, and there are different options for spaces and so on. So here I created my first table, and now I need to enable it by adding an index to it. So I just created an index so I can insert data, and now I can insert data. So that's the basic idea, and here's my tuple, and now I can select everything that's in the space. And so that idea of embedding a database into Lua and making it available is just inside the interpreter. It what drove us. And well, I don't know how much time I have, but that's the basic
1 minute.
idea. Well, let's leave it for questions or...
I have a quick question. Why do you say that Lua does not have REPL loop? It does.
Well, that was my impression. I don't know. Maybe I couldn't find it.
Just type Lua.
And okay, I have Lua on board. Okay.
Here it is. But it's file 1. Okay.
So it's slightly different than what we have now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
Can we connect this box model to Lua script? Or
Well,
only
it
run
is a
Tarantool?
script. You write a script, and you can write any script and use it in any script in Lua you like. So
No,
just use a different
not
interpreter.
using Tarantool interpreter.
Can you connect to this from Lua?
Yes.
It depends where you are running your Lua. If you're running your Lua, say in Nginx, it's one story, in OpenResty, and so on. Another story if you just use plain Lua, Lua-Jig. So we have a connector to Tarantool if you run your Lua inside Tarantool. If Tarantool is your Lua interpreter, yes, it's there. We have a connector for plain Lua, I believe, at this point. But if most people are actually coming to us and asking to have OpenResty module. So OpenResty is going to be out in some time. So unfortunately, as a Lua community is diverse, it depends on what socket library you are using. So our driver got to run on top of the socket library. So the reason we first did our driver for us is that we have our own socket library.
I don't need a connector, I need embed to like SQLite.
Oh, in embedded mode. Can you embed your data? No.
Is it planned?
Well, there are many plans, but I honestly don't see any. Well, we are just in a different. We came from a different background, so our purpose is very large deployments. So it's small deployments where you need to embed it, not our niche.
Okay. Thank you. Will you be available for the questions and answer session?
Well, I think everybody is aware here that we are sort of participating in the show, so everybody knows we are taking the question. So it's not a problem. Thank you for your time. For standing around.